Hi, everybody, and welcome back for another round. This time I'm going to talk a lot of bit, about what it took to make the money and what it took to really make those ends meet. And it's going to be a long one. I may have to. It's definitely going to be done in a few parts because while the events begin in 2008, 2009, it doesn't really end until 2016. And right about now in this timeline where I'm at, we're around 2008. So it makes sense to start talking about this. Now, I think I've shown that I mean it, and that you probably could tell by now that I take risks, and I'm not afraid. Well, let's start with that. So I'm an electrician, and I'm working, and I build schools. Really, actually enjoy my work, knowing that I build a community that I live in, and that I actually had a hand in those buildings. Hey, I like that. Okay. So I really enjoyed my job, and even though it was hard, um, I'll get right to. I had an inguinal hernia, and I don't know if anybody, somebody who's listening eventually knows what those feel like, but they are very painful. And effectively, I was smuggling grapefruit just under my waist, and I mean, if I sneezed, coughed, laughed, anything, I had to bend over and like push my guts in before the event. Otherwise, it would hurt like a lot. So I was walking around every day in a lot of pain, and it was known issue, and it's also hereditary. I think my father had it, and this is the way it goes. But really painful, and there was no like opportunity to rest. It was the sole income. We my wife and I decided that it is best to have somebody, one of the parents, home to be with the kids and help raise them, especially while they're young. I don't think there's not a lot of science that says that's no good. So we were doing that, and in that way, I wanted to be that kind of man. Take care. Well, my lady's got a real job too to do. Our legacy is very important. All right, so just setting it up, mama's at home taking care of everything else. I'm, trying to facilitate the care, and my body's broken. And I think this is around 2008, 9, because the economy was in the dumps. Imagine that, the end of a Republican presidency, and the economy's in the dumps. It's never not been that way in my lifetime. Anyway, it is what it is. There's balance there. I get it. No worries. But it still was a situation, and money was kind of hard to come by, and the union work that I was, used to getting was skimpy. And so anyway, I'm on the job, and I wind up having a problem with a fella, and his name was Jadon. He was known for being a real jerk. Well, he hit me off a ladder because he didn't like what I had to say, and I made a stink about it. And then I went to the doctor to get a report done because I'm not letting this guy do that. And I come to find out that this guy's wife had left him because he's abusive and moved to Connecticut. And just go check up the divorce laws in Connecticut. She went to Connecticut for a reason. And he was a miserable man, and he took it out on me one day. So I go to the doctor to get to get checked up because I did have some bumps and bruises on me, and I was gonna see this through. And this little Chinese man of a doctor, who I'm very grateful for, looked at me and said, "You're a mess," and have put me to surgery. I needed surgery. It was pretty bad. It was real bad. And he's like, "You're a mess. You need to be taken care of. This is outrageous." So he set me up with the surgery, and I had to get that done. And then of course everything about it. Getting your abdominal walls cut open hurts. The blah blah blah. Recovery time takes time, and it hurts. Okay, fine. So disability was worth, a couple, it was worth $975 a week. In California, that's barely enough. All right, look, and gluten-free food and all the like food that we needed, and the supplements and everything, I couldn't keep up with one income. So I started to make phone calls. At this point, money is spotty. I need money. So I'm making phone calls. I'm well known in my community. I don't steal from you. I don't come back and steal from you. I don't tell people what I know about you. I have a long history of success. So I call my people, hey, everybody needs an electrician. I need money. I'm looking to work. Find me money. Find me something, please, people. And they did. My good people found me work. They're like, yeah, yeah, my mom or, somebody needs a little something, something. Great. So I do little things. Um, I called up one of my friends who I'd known. Unfortunately, he's passed on. Love him, but he's gone. I called Dan, and I was like, "Hey, man, if you know anybody, you know what I do." And he's like, "Yeah, man, I'll call you." So he calls me a little while later, and he's like, "Yo, man, I got this dude Nick. He needs a lot of peach grow rooms set up, and you're the man. So just give him a call and do it." All right. So Nick was his name, and I'm gonna leave it at that. He's a real low life, but anyway, he had me setting up grow rooms all over, from Berkeley and Oakland, Antioch. I mean, all kinds of places in California. I mean, there's like 215 places to do it. You know what I'm saying? Property of 15. Well, that changed everything. So there I was. I'm going out. I'm making good money. Sometimes 5, 7, a good amount of money, $5, $7 a day, and I'm getting topped off in peaches too. So it was a really good deal. And this deal went on for a while. I was able to support my family by doing what I considered honest work because I'm just setting up, a grow room. Um, that's just it. So anyway, sorry, phone call came in. Yeah, I'm doing this on my phone. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, yeah. Sorry, my phone's going bonkers. So I set up this phone call, this relationship, and he calls me a little while later, and he says, "Hey, do you have a market for any of these peaches?" And I thought to myself, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. I used to live somewhere in the Midwest, and yeah, what we have here for $700 can go for up to 6,000 over there. And he's like, clunk. I'm like, yeah. So he's like, well, look, man, I'm heavy on these things. I need to get rid of this, couple of bushels. Work that. So I did. Made a few phone calls to my people where it is used to live, and they're like, yeah, no, definitely, please and thank you. So they met. They through the mail. They sent payment, and then I would deliver the peaches, and I would make that money. And I didn't like it very much because I know that I'm trying to support my family in a good way, and doing that is probably not going to work like out, right? I mean, it's not a moral thing, but it's still a thing. So, I was a little ambivalent about it, but it's like, hey, I can't walk away from the money. I just need it. And we were also, I mean, so part of the issue was like we took on credit card debt so we could pay for these things because I mean, I don't care about the money. I care about my family and my kid, And if a little bit of money is going to put the food on the table that we need and help provide the resources that we're going to need to be successful and healthy, then yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that was working out for a while, and the way it worked was the honest money I would make would pay for our bills, our food, the shelter, the things that we need. And the money that was dirty in my brain went to the credit cards. You see how that relationship kind of worked out for me? I was able to be like, well, I'll take care of the family with the goodies, and we'll call it, it's just a lesser way of making money. I give it to the credit cards, and that worked. It worked well. It worked quietly. It worked safely. Um, this is an all volunteer thing. There's no such thing as gun-toting gangsters in my life, and if there are, I'm out of that part. I don't want it. But really, really, truly, I was doing that, and well, after a while, you know how it goes. Can we do more? Right. So about 6 bushels. Normally there's like a bushel or two at a time. About 6 bushels. I call it a 6 pack. And it was worth a lot of dough. I mean, just do the math. It's worth a lot of dough. And this one I had paid for myself. There was no fronting of any kind of thing. I didn't have any investors in this. This was all me. So this is going to be a big one. And hopefully my last one, because I didn't like doing it. It was not cool. Again, not immoral, but there was laws against shipping these peaches. Can't do that. All right. Well, so because this is the big one, um, I decided to receive it myself. Normally, I would just send it out and keep my fingers crossed. This time, I decided to receive it myself. So I brought myself from California to the Midwest, and I, bought myself or rented myself a car, rental car, and I got myself a hotel room, and I waited. And then the parcel moving service dropped a package of peaches, and I said, there it is. So I went and scooped it and started driving to my hotel. And there I am, driving along to my hotel, just being fine. And then all of a sudden, a Toyota Tacoma on the other side of the road crosses the median and is aimed right at me. Head-on collision coming at me. I was like, this is trouble. So I kind of I turn in one direction, and it turns right at me. And this guy ran me off the road by threat of an oncoming, like a head-on collision. I was confused. So I pulled way off in the road because this guy was going to T-bone. At first he was going to hit me in the face, hit me in the front. Then he was going to be, you know how they do it. And so I took out a Tacoma. And then God knows what else these things were. I don't remember these cars. I remember the Tacoma because I was getting a real good look at the grill, real good look at the driver because he was definitely staring me down and running me off the road. And yeah, so there I am, having been run off the road. Now I'm surrounded by many, many, many cars. None of them are police cars, but they are police cars. They just don't look like it right away. And out pop around 7, 8 dudes, something like that. And this is a very special moment, and it was a big day, and it continues. But anyway, it was a very special moment because they all had their guns out on me, and they don't know who I am, right? I mean, they just know dudes in that car, and anything's possible. So they got their guns out on me, and I literally have a gun, like, here. Because I remember looking at the gun, and I could see the rifling or whatever they got going on in the barrel, and I'm like, that's real, that's a problem. And I'm looking around, and that's not the only one. There's like, everyone's got their gun on my face, like surrounded. I mean, so I'm in the car, windows are up, and I'm like, okay, this is where that stops. I take the keys out of the ignition, I pull them out real slow, and just drop them on the floor. I turn to the door, crack the door open, and you know how once you open the door, they help you get out. So they helped me get out. And they were very clear who was in control at that moment. Um, and I was very clear that I respected that. I couldn't. Oh, the only thing I could say while they were giving me orders was, I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. Which hopefully translates to, you don't need to beat me up. I don't need to be clubbed over the head. I do not need. You can just put them cuffs on me, and I'm going to play nice. I'm not resisting. And that was a wise move because these were fit, strong, armed. These were not beat cops. These were super duper jet setting cops whose the country was their jurisdiction. These dudes were like super cops, and I'm not joking at all. And they proved it. Boy, did they prove it. It, like, that day, I saw a lot of what they do, and a lot of respect. And whoa, don't fuck these dudes. Anyway. Yeah, so after I, get handled, and they feel like they're in control, it's like a few minutes, not long. I mean, these dudes were good. Yeah, so that's what they did, and they, threw me in the Toyota Tacoma. I'm like, okay, and the one of the cops like, you're effed, but just how effed you are, matters right now about how you act. I said, look, everybody who's in on this knows I'm a family man and I'm going to flip like a damn fish. I told everybody as soon as if I'm out of water, plop, 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 I'll say it, do it. I don't care. If it means 10 minutes less time, I'm going to do it. Sorry. I, everybody already knew. Everybody already knew. All right. So I said, yeah, I'm game. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, you're trying to set this up so we can catch everybody, right? And they're like, yeah. I said, I'm game. I mean, yes. Yes. And he goes, gets on the phone. He's like, yeah, he's game. He's going to do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah. And then a couple dudes come up to me like, you have that kind of power? I'm like, yes. Yes, definitely not going to be ambiguous with these guys. I don't know exactly what they mean, but if it looks like I had that kind of power because I can say something to somebody and make something happen, that must mean I have the power. So, yes, I say to him. And that's what happened. I wind up calling the boys. I'm like, look, why don't you just meet me at this time? The schedule's kind of changed. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. So, it took a few hours for things to set up. And as we're heading into the hotel room to set up the rest of the day, uh, I remember I was just like had my hand on the wall, and the officer definitely was keeping track of me. He's looking at me pretty good, and he notices my knuckles are like a little banged up, and "When's the last time you fought?" I'm like, "What do you mean, like fisticuffs?" And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh God, it's been like the '90s. I mean, '93." And then he goes, "Oh, I'm looking at your knuckles." I'm like, "Oh, that's just work. Sometimes I bust my knuckles." Oh well, mechanic, electrician, knucklehead. There we go. Sometimes I bust my knuckles. So I was like, oh, that's from work, man. I win without fighting. That's from the art of war, which is my gospel, and it is to win without fighting. I don't want to get into it. You meet me, you'll know I do this. So, and he goes, oh yeah. He goes, the Lord Jesus Christ is my gospel, and I said, fair enough. So, we go to the hotel room, and they're in an adjoining hotel room and I'm in my hotel room, and then the boys come, my people come, and I had that six bushels of peaches sitting on the couch, and I was like, hey, you guys want to take a look at this? And they're like, yeah. I said, great. So I went to the kitchen. I got this knife that they had in the kitchen. I thought to myself, I opened the box and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go put this knife away before anybody, who needs a knife out now. And I go to the kitchen, and immediately the officer, as soon as they must have been listening, because as soon as like they heard the clink of the knife being put down, all of them came again, and boom, busted through the door, guns out, chasing people. I knew they was coming. Sorry, I knew they was coming, so I just slid like I was doing a home base, or like a slide into second on my belly. I just slid right to the kitchen floor, sprayed myself out on the floor, and just laid there. And there was an older gentleman on the crew of officers. He was easily in his 60s, um, and he had a gun on my back, and he goes, good, because he saw what I was doing. He says, good. I just laid there, and of course my boys, they got caught. They got caught. And don't worry, I know it sounds terrible. Nobody did any time. Okay, so, and I'm why. I am why. I'm why we got in trouble, and I'm why we didn't do any time. So I'm clean. But oh, let me tell you. So, I'm there doing this because I'm out of my mind. My world that I had lined up for me was looking kind of rough. The the situation was not a good one, and I wasn't really adding to good with this. I thought I was helping, and I did. It really did help for a while, but like all things, they catch up to you. So I'll never forget, and I'll always be grateful. I'll never forget. I'm sitting there in that hotel room, and the bust is done. They got the boys out of there. My other fellas, they're gone, and I'm in this hotel room now, and I'm I'm done. I have no reason to think anything other than you know incarceration's coming. And I've been there before. Not like on the heavy, but I've still been there. And I thought to myself, well, this is the end. This is the end of me, the life that I know now. Now soon I'll be fighting for my life and ass and everything in a cold, dark place. But okay, fine. I knew the risks. So I decided just to open my fucking mouth. And, I told just opened up. I just opened up. I told the guys, like, all of them were there, I guess. Maybe there's 5 of them by now. There's at least 5 of them. But, I opened up and I was like, I'm doing this because of this reason. And I'm not asking you guys to do anything but listen. And that means at this point, we were making progress. The food was mattering. The chelation was working. Everything we were trying was working. A little bit. And some of it had some backhand action to it. And some of it was, didn't look like progress. But, imagine what the laundry looks like. When you're doing the laundry, you throw in your dirties and you put in the soap and the water. At some point in the laundry, in the process of cleaning, everything is actually filthy, right? Meaning it's not as ever dirtier than it ever was, but all the dirt that was, all of it, everything is now swirling and swashing about. That's why we have a rinse cycle, okay? So in the laundry world, that's, what I'm talking about. Anyway, trying to make that, parallel. Anyway, so I start opening up, and I'm telling them we're making progress. I'm doing this because food's expensive, care is expensive, and I'm doing this because it's working. And I told them, look, I know I'm cooked. I know I'm screwed. And I knew it was possible. But I remember saying, you guys are going to meet someone like me with my problems one day, and you can tell them you met somebody, you know him, that if you do certain things, you'll make progress, you can recover them, you can do this. I'm doing it. And I would describe what I was doing. And I just plead with them, please. Yeah, I'm cooked. I'm done. Fine. But what I've accomplished should live on. Please take my message to your people. Take my message to the world that you don't have to accept these things just as they are. You can fight and win. And I just laid it all out. What was in my heart, I just laid it all out. So that before I burn, the message gets out there. And these are good men. Surely they know somebody like me who could use a little support, a little bit of help. Right? So anyway, I gave it up. It was a good move. It came from the heart. It was absolutely true. And the arresting officer, Darren, God bless him. He opens up my phone and he goes, "Can I look at your phone?" And I said, "Well, sure." He goes, "Who's your connection?" And I said, "It's this number here." And he goes, "Anybody else?" I said, "Well, this is my friend who gave you this dude's number, but he and I have been friends since we're children, but this is the path." And he goes, "Okay, where's this guy?" I said, "I don't know. I think he's got a brother in Georgia. I know he bounces between the Bay Area and Georgia to see his brother. I don't really know. He says his last name is something, but I know it's some crazy Greek name, like Grikopopolopoulos or something like that. I don't even know it." And it was true. I didn't. So he went through my whole phone. He goes, "Look, man." He goes, "I'm going to go through everything in your phone right now. Is there anything in here that's going to surprise me?" I said, "Oh, like, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Contraband, blah, blah, blah." Nope. So he goes through my phone, and there's basically 2 things in there. Pictures of my pipe work. I'm an electrician. I bend pipe. I'm really good at bending pipe. Not just bending it. I can do the measurements and make it look great, and you can stand on it. I do my stuff. I know how to build something, man. I'm a German too. I mean it. So, yeah, I'm Irish, German, and Portuguese. Anyway, yes. So all he found in my phone was pictures of my work, and videos and pictures of my family. That's it. Videos and photos of my son skateboarding, and yeah, helmets, knee pads, wrist guards, elbow pads, everything. They're suited. And, I remember him watching this video of my son going down the curb with all of his gear on, like pretending to ollie and all that. I used to skateboard, and he was doing it, and I was like celebrating. I'm like, "Yeah, dude, right on." Because a couple of days ago, he went down that curb and fell backwards and got to use his, protective equipment, and he was like, "Okay, if I fall this, it's gonna hurt, but not that bad." So he was being brave again. So like, there's this video of me showing up doing the thing, and that's like one of 100 videos, and it's all pictures of my wife, my babies, my work. There I am, in defined. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. And I got this whole side hustle thing happening right now too. That just ruined me. But yeah, That's the man you're looking at. Well, so we went through the whole thing, and whatever. Well, I had been in that hotel room for about a day, half a day, whatever, and I'm starting to wonder what's going on, because everybody's kind of like dissipating, and I'm here still. It's weird. Yeah, maybe y'all can sniff what's coming, but nobody believes when it's happening. The guy says to me, he goes, Darren says to me, he goes, "Joshua, I'm going to make you a deal." I'm like, "Hmm." He's like, "You're going to go home. You're going to get on that plane tomorrow. And you're going to go home to your family. And we're going to do a little investigating. You're going to be set up with a court date. And you must come to court." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You're going to get on a plane and go home to your family. You will get a court date, and you will come to court." And I was blown away. I was like, first of all, okay, I'd love to go home. God, would I love to go home. I just had guns in my face today. I'd like to go get a hug from someone who loves me. Yeah, that'd be a good thing. So, but that wasn't the end of the message, because the old man walks in, looks at me. "You just won the lottery. I can't. 45 years on the force, and I've never seen this before. You just won the lottery." I'm like, "Oh, God." The guy was not happy with me. And then a young man comes in, maybe in his 30s. This dude looked serious as a heart attack. He was about it. And he goes, "If you don't show up to court, I'll hunt you to the ends of the earth, and I will find you." I looked at him in the face and said, "I believe you. I will show up to court. I believe you." And I did. You bet I believe that dude. He's holding this gun while he's talking to me, like in the holster. He's like, he ain't gripping it, but he's holding it. He's like, "Motherfucker, I can't believe what's going on right here. I'm telling you right now, I'll come and get you. You flinch wrong right here, I'll come and get you." So I'm in a room of very powerful men who all but one want to see my ass strung up. Darren Gellerman. Oh, it's not Darren Gellerman. That's a guy I worked with. It's a different Darren. Haha. Cool. Thank goodness. Darren Gellerman is a 595 hand. He's a good man. This is not the same guy. Promise. I'll try to edit that. Not that it matters. Hi, Darren. Anyway. Uh, yeah. Darren tells me to go home and just wait. And he says, "Do you have a lawyer?" I'm like, "I've never been in trouble. No, I don't have a lawyer." I'm not. No, I don't. And he goes, "All right. Take care of that too." So I go home. Now, I didn't tell my wife any of this until I got home, because there's no point in worrying her. But yeah, it was pretty worrisome. When I came home and I told her, and I didn't have all the money, she's like, "What happened?" Like, "Well, this what happened." And she was like, "Oh my God." So this particular state is a no tolerance state. The penalty for anything over 5 bushels or more is a mandatory 10 years prison sentence. This was in 2009, 8 or 9, something like that. Yeah, 2009. Yeah, yeah. So that was that was crazy. I come home and she was very upset, and she tells me, "I knew this was going to happen. This time I begged you," and she did. She told me, "Don't go, don't do this. This is I have a bad feeling," and I'm like, I don't care. It's way too much money for me. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't think about it, and I know why it happened. I know what happened, and that doesn't matter right now. But so I went home and I got a call from a lawyer, and this lawyer happened to be one of the arresting. Now, the lead officer, Darren. He again. These are like jet-setting cops. They're not your average dudes, and this lawyer used to run with Darren as an officer, as one of his people, and he decided to go on the other side of the law to go to the legal representation side of it. So they knew each other, and he calls me and he introduces himself, and he says, Mr. Hirschberg, I've been referred to you by Darren, and I want you to know that my representation for this kind of case is my fee is 30,000 to retain me. And yeah, I don't have that. I definitely don't have that. And I don't have anybody with that. And he says, but I'm going to do this case for $7,534.17 or whatever. And I'm like, that's exactly what I have in my checking account. These dudes know exactly what's up with me. When they did their investigation, they probably crawled up my butt and I didn't even know it. They probably knew what I was thinking. They knew everything. So he asked me, do you have that kind of money? And I said, yes. I remember thinking about it, like, all of that happened. I was like, they know exactly what's going on. Don't be stupid. Of course, I'm not being stupid. I'm not going to lie to these people. They're actually trying to help me. And they're really nervous about helping me. Rightfully so. Not wrong in any way. So, they're real nervous about helping me. And I'm like, yeah, man, I got that money. He goes, you send me that money? And my representation begins right away. I said, I'll send you a cashier's check. That way you're guaranteed. He's like, I like that. Perfect. Cashier's check. So I did. I went to my bank, cleaned it out, and said, just turn this into a cashier's check. That's it. And that's it. So I mailed it out. And, I think it happened in 2009, and then it took a lot of time. And in 2010, 11 is when, the whole court thing was going on. And I had to go from California to the Midwest a few times for court. And I'll do my best to stay composed. So there I am in court. And I know, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to prison for 10 years. Pretty sure. But this day ain't over yet. The day ain't over yet. Oh, man. So anyway, I'm in court. And this is like this. You think court's scary? I thought court was scary until I went into this court. This is the cleanest, biggest, shiniest, most well anointed, appointed, whatever. It's gorgeous. Shining wood floors, a judge, a bailiff, the arresting officer, my lawyer, stenographer. That's it. In this giant room, just a few of us. And this is like the upstairs court. It's like real classy up there. I felt like, uh-oh. Right? Now, in the audience, if you will, as witnesses were my my mother and father-in-law. They were there with me. They kind of lived in that Midwest state. So they got to see it. They got to hear it. I have witnesses to this one. Not that it matters. But they were going through it all. And I remember the judge was wearing a bow tie. But that scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh, man. Something about that looks like a knife. Something about that looks like it's going to cut my throat. And he was real clear. He's like, man, you're the only person to come through this courtroom on such a charge and not have done a lick of time. And Mr. Hirschberg, I see you haven't spent a moment behind bars. It does not make me comfortable. Yeah. You know I ain't saying nothing. How the hell do you respond to that? You don't, right? You just pray. So, I'm listening to what he's talking about. Oh, oh, it was 6 bushels. It couldn't be 6 bushels. One of those bushels had to disappear. So they asked me, Mr. Hirschberg, are you okay with one of these bushels disappearing? I said, okay, I'm not. I have no problem with that, but why? And they go, well, anything over 5 and we can't do this deal. I said, there was only 5, right? He said, yeah. I said, great. Oh my God, right? As if Moses was looking after me, just parting every sea I encountered. Anyway, so there I am. There I am in court. And the judge is describing what really should be happening to me. And I should be in prison for a minimum of 10 years. Just for the one thing. That's just the one thing. Then you know how the law goes. You didn't break just one law. You broke these laws just to get to breaking that law. So you have I was going to go away for a long time. And I remember Darren saying, before he sent me on the plane, he goes, man, well, at some point he said to me, if I send you to prison, I might as well just send your whole family to prison too. So he was a real Christian in that way. And that's the guy I say is actually Jesus, because he did hold the gun and he was pointing it at my head, and he would have shot me if I gave him a reason. But because he was such a fan, and I don't mean a fan, I mean he believes in the Christ-like values clearly, and he showed me them. And of course, to this day, I honor them. But there's so much more to this story. And boy, is there. So I remember being in the courtroom, and at this point, I'm just going to say, it was clear I wasn't going to prison forever. And I figured that the judge was going to give me an opportunity to speak, So I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell am I going to say besides thank you? I mean, I'm jackass, right? Yeah, I mean, what am I going to say? Well, I figured it out, and I said it. And then the officer, the judge says, all right, Mr. Hirschberg, after everything, he told me if I get in any kind of trouble, that he will maximize every single thing possible, and in all likelihood, I would finish my life in that prison. Because he said the amount of leniency that I'm being shown right now would be recognized by the court as something stupid, and they would put some kind of multipliers, penalties on that, and he really said basically you would never see freedom again. And my response to that was, the court will not be made to look like a fool. And that was a response I exactly said. When they told me, this leniency is exceptional, and your consequence for effing it off will be exceptional, the court will not be made to look like a fool. So when they gave me the opportunity to speak, I was working on the speech prior, I mean, in the courtroom, and I was like, okay, well, all I can do is be honest, right? I mean, that's what got me this far, not in my head in the guillotine. So just keep going with the true you. Maybe that's so far so good somehow. So, I said, look, I'm over here going over the reasons why I've done this. My family is desperate. My child is sick. I'm heartbroken. We're broke. And I told the judge, while I was listing off the reasons that I was doing it, is while I was listing it off, I also realized all those reasons were the same reasons I should not be doing it. Because my kid's sick, because we're desperate. I should be more careful and not be this. So I thanked the court for not letting me throw away my life. I told the court they will not be made to look like a fool, and that I understand the reasons that I was doing this are actually the reasons I shouldn't be. And I told the court I had blown my own mind right here in front of you guys. It's real. I said, I'm blowing my own mind right now, and I can barely think and speak. And the judge says, Counselor, come up here. And by the way, there was a prosecuting guy over there who didn't say nothing. I think maybe he burped a couple times, said something about like the statements, that you legally have to. But I have my lawyer on this side and the arresting officer Darren on this side with me on my shoulders. It's a wonderful experience. You don't want to try it. You're never going to get the luck I do sometimes. Man, that's ridiculous. God bless. I've earned it still. So anyway, the judge says, Counselor, come up here. And the counselor goes up there and comes back, and my lawyer leans into me and goes, hey, man, the judge asked me if I told you to say that. And I said, well, you and I both know you didn't tell me to say that. He goes, that's what I told him. He really liked it. That's like, oh. So that day I went home after that, and the officer hugged me. Everybody was very happy to see me go home. And of course, Ma and Pa-in-law were really happy to see me go home because they don't want to have to cover what I'm covering. They see what it takes. They're like, oh, shit, thank goodness he's still here. No, they were there for me. They were really there for me. Thanks, Ma and Pa Hardy. Even though we don't talk much anymore, I always remember that. I appreciate it. I know you saw me too, my golden moments. Very few people actually get to witness those things. When I want to own a room, sometimes it works. And I'm not trying to be anything but me. All right, anyway. So I went home, and it just blown away. And of course, no more of that mess. No more of those relationships are all gone. And yeah, so I knew that I could not do that anymore. And by the time this all wrapped up, it was around 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. I think it was 2011. Yep, yep, yep. Because it was in 2011 that we decided to expand our family and have another baby. Oh, what are we thinking? Tell you what we're thinking. I've always wanted a lot of kids. I'm an Irishman, all right? I'm a man. I love babies. Boy, do I love babies. And I want more. I kind of still do to this day, and I'm not joking. Love it. Don't care. Whoop. Anyway, we wanted another one. At this point, now I'm skipping a lot of Sean and the family to like fast forward so I can get this story to the point of completion that we can be satisfied. This story's far from over. This comes and haunts me down the road in 2016. That's right. This close to going to prison forever because of a betrayal. Can't wait to tell that story. Oh, can't wait for that. Drop jaws, break hearts, and say, damn, and you realize how hard I am to take out. When death comes for me, it's on good Lord's grace, and I'm ready for that. Anyway, so I make it home, and I decide, well, that revenue stream has to end, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So that actually gave birth to the need to make nothing but honest dollar. The dollars that only, the ones you can tell your grandma in church about. Those needed to be the dollars I made. So I started doing chasing my Volkswagens. And now I told you I ride my bicycle, and I do so for therapy, and it just feels great. I love it. Come on, ride a bike. Awesome. So I ride my bike around town. And when I say around town, I could do 50 miles casually. So around town had scope. And I would peep I have I got radar, Volkswagen radar. I can feel them. I can see a fleck of their bumper and be, oh, there it is. So I hunt them down and I would knock a door or just leave a note on it and be like, "Hey, I'll buy it or fix it. Call me." Or not. I mean, I was just on a bike ride. I had a card. I mean, I was accountable to everybody. I've been there a long time. It didn't take too much travel to find somebody who knew me and could, vouch for me. Anyway, so I'd chase these Volkswagens. I made some amazing customers, and I'll tell about one dub just as a fun story stuff and people I met and things I did and the way I came up. And it's amazing how many people are out there who really want to give and provide to people who are amazing and kicking ass. I do those things, so sometimes I wind up getting stuff that's just like, what? Okay, great, yeah, you are okay, thank you, right? True blessings. But when I left all the dirty business behind, I had no choice but to continue to make money and more of it because at that point, 2010, 11, 12, it's still hard. He's still wacky. It's still messed up. Yeah, he didn't learn to use his hands proper until he was around 7.5 or 8 years old. I helped with that. It was pretty great. I can't wait to tell the story of the Special Olympics too. Yes. So all things needed to change, and everything was changing for the better. It was a giant wash, just a giant laundry, right? All that filth and mess all at once. But woof, the red cycle come along, and that red cycle happened to be Jesus holding a gun that day, and his disciples. Beautiful. All right, so they gave me a 5-year probation. And in that 5-year probation, Josh, if you fart sideways and somebody's offended, basically you're going, look, really the truth was they'll double the prison sentence I should have had. They'll whatever thing that dragged me to that court for the second time, they'll maximize that and then they'll put penalties because of the previous thing. Bye. Bye. No more freedom from you. So yeah, definitely finding a new way. And that new way was definitely going to be the things I know how to do. And that would be Volkswagen. So like I said, riding my bike around, chasing them, making new friends, getting paid in cash. And of course, I was also doing electrical work. My hernias, I had my hernia surgery in, I think, 2010, 9, something like that. 8, 9, 2008 or 9. So I was patched up. The next one was about to pop, but it's another story for down the road. Yeah, both sides. Boop, boop, ouch. But so anyway, I was laid out with a 5-year probation, and that would be 2000. Oh yeah, yeah, it was 2011. 2011. Uh huh. Yep, yep, yep. 2011, and I think like October. So I was finally, done in the court. So yeah, 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 I was given a 5-year probation, and because it happened in the Midwest, and I lived in California. I really couldn't serve the probation in the Midwest, right? I mean, I don't live there. So the court system made a deal. I can't remember the actual name of it, but whatever. The deal was, this guy uh, lives in California, so he's going to have to pay under the California code. And they were like, fine, just as long as he's reporting. And so California at the time was kind of broke with their justice system. So my probation, which was pretty staunch, like once a week drug tests and showing up to this, and you can't leave that, and you got to show up here and do these things. And I think I was supposed to have like an ankle monitor, just to monitor my movement and all that kind of stuff. And hey, not in the clink? Sure, no problem. Yeah, I'll be skipping all the way. But California was kind of broke, and they're like, look, we don't really have the resources to do all this stuff, so here's what we're gonna do. You just need to call us anytime you're leaving town. If you're going to travel at all, just tell us if you're traveling, and you need to be accountable at any time if I call. I said, really? Okay, no problem. So I checked in, I met her, and she's like, yeah, you don't seem like you're going to be much of a problem. I said, look, I had a problem because I was desperate. I'm better off now. I'm not going to do those things. I'm doing the other things better. And she's like, cool. So, like, just call me whenever you're going. Now, I had a job as an electrician, so I'd be traveling out of the county sometimes. So I'd call her. I'd be like, look, I'm heading here today. I'm heading. She goes, after a while, she goes, Josh, if you're leaving the state, call me. But given where you're at and what you're doing and all that, no problem. No problem. And of course, I got like a phone, so I'm sure they're tracking to some degree. I'm being honest. Being honest. So that was it. That's really it. All I had to do was not sell peaches, not do stupid stuff, stay out of trouble, which I was actually pretty good at. I mean, I've found a lot of trouble in my life, but I'm good at getting out, like not doing it anymore. I was young. So I guess that's the mildest story or the mildest way I've ever told that story. There's a lot of details just ain't worth sharing, but maybe I will down the road. But I thought it was really special and worth sharing that you're you don't know who's going to be with you in your struggles. I never thought that the situation that was going to propel me into becoming an even better provider was going to be cops with guns. And a well meaning officer of the law who told me if I lock you up, I might as well just ruin your whole family too. Can't do that. And he's like, man, I must be just a big old softy. I remember him being critical, openly critical of himself, saying, like, it was kind of like this is not good for him, but he can't morally do this that way. I was very impressed. And in fact, I committed that day to. I did not have the. I didn't know. I didn't know about Jesus in that way. I thought it was a judgmental thing. I thought it was a way of separating us. I'm not a fan of the Catholic Church. So when I think of that, I think of, nailing people to a cross. That's not that's not Christianity. That's like Roman stuff. They nail people to crosses. Christian, Christ, very different scene. I mean, let's be honest. So his message has been twisted, I thought, and all of this and that. I mean, I don't know. And then I met dude through the lens of the law and through the power of a gun and the ability to incarcerate and all of that. He saw me with compassion and understanding. And he gave me an opportunity, turn the other cheek, so to speak. So I committed to an investigation of all of that. And when I decide to commit, I've said it before. When I stand up, I don't sit down until that thing I'm up against capitulates. And this time, I'm up against understanding or the lack of mine. So I do not stand down until I understand. I understand better. Probably don't understand at all, but I definitely understand better now. And my life's been better ever since. Because if that guy can see, I should be able to also. I'm inspired by that. Very inspired by that. And to think that someone could look past all their training, prejudice, professional, blah, 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 and still see their faith and values and not that's not condemn somebody, it's worth looking into. And so I have. And it's the it's one of the greatest educations I've been given. Uh, yeah, so Christ-like, I've said this before, Christ-like values, they cannot be overplayed or overstated. And it's because of those values that I have my freedom. It's because of those values that I have a healthy family. And oh boy, is my family healthy and strong now. And this whole thing is going to be moving out of the garage soon. I wanted to start in the garage because it's kind of like it's my safe place. I do my work here. I have my toys here. It's where I hang out. It's where I make things. And it's kind of how it felt like in the beginning with making kids, starting a new family, things not going according to plan. Um, it felt like I think I mentioned before, I lived below ground. Um, one of my spirit animals is an earthworm. And I know it's not fun to think of. A spirit animal is an earthworm. But when you look at what the earthworm does, it's pretty important. You're not going to grow much in your land without these worms. They help aerate. They do the stuff. So I lived as an earthworm for a long time. And then I became a bull. The worm gave birth to a bull. And we all know what bulls do. So the idea is give me a chance to change my perspective and open into a new era, because there were certain things that were surely not going to work, things that needed to work, and I was realigned. And it was probably the most important time of this whole thing, because there I was at the cusp of all this progress, and at the same time, unwillingly but readily, ready to end it. Like, so I got awful lucky that day. You know, for whatever it's worth, the universe sent him to me, and I was able to receive whatever you want to call it. The relationship was supposed to be there. You never know. Life's counterintuitive. You never know who's going to come up and help you. Definitely don't know those things. And I never would have thought that some of the greatest help I could get was going to start with a gun in my face. So, again, this story continues to follow. I did make it out of my probation, but almost didn't. I'll tell that story when the timeline catches up to it. It'll be a little while, because I do believe these next few episodes are going to be about just being in it. And that would be my tandem bicycle rides, going on the train, taking Sean and my boy out in the world, because we had finally broken the barrier where we could go out and be out for a few hours. And even though it came with some social media and came with some issues, we were doing that. So it seems like a lot to be putting out, but all of this happened in like a couple of few years. Like, all of these events were like jammed into a very small amount of time, and we all know that development does happen in small amounts of time. It takes a while, but I mean, sparks are flying before the fire starts. You know, you want to make sure those sparks hit the right place, right? I mean, metaphor. But yeah, thanks. This is one of the bigger stories, and I'm looking forward to telling the rest of it. But talk about it, risking the biscuit, risking it for the biscuit, doing the best I can, and then the people who are supposed to stop me did, but then they helped me, and it's amazing. And I am the only guy, definitely the only guy who's shoving six bushels of peaches through the through the system, getting caught red-handed, guns in the face, and then I'm flying home that next day, and then doing some easy time at the house so I can take care. It's blessed. All right, thanks. Have a great day.